Hello, everybody, and welcome back to This Week Online for the fourth ever episode of This Week Online. My name is Jacob, and with me always is my co-host Prad. Today, as always, whole heap of topics. We're talking about the League of Legends pro player Faker and him receiving a whole heap of death threats. Prad will go into that because I don't understand. TikTok gets the ban hammer. Trump has officially, even after interest from Oracle, has decided that TikTok is banned. And then finally, we have something that deeply upsets me, which is about the mass emergent approach, the falling out between Matt versus Japan and yoga. But first of all, like always, we're going to go over what held our attention this week. Prad?
Well, my friend a while back for a while now has been telling me to start watching a show called Young Justice. So I finally started watching that. It's a lot of fun. It's surprisingly deep. It happens with all of these shows. Like I've been watching a show. My friend's been having me watch a show called Kamen Rider. It's basically the Japanese version of Power Rangers. Yeah. But like there are so many themes that make it seem like these cannot be children's shows. Like I just don't get it. How are these allowed to be kids shows? They're not PG. Yeah. There are themes in there where like people are like straight up getting killed or tortured in front of you, and it's like, yeah, this is a kids show.
Hell yeah, that's good.
I mean, they're great. They are fantastic shows. The writing is brilliant. The voice acting is great. So that's basically what I've been watching. I've also obviously over the last 2 weeks essentially, there's for the last 2 weeks there's been no League of Legends for me to watch, so that's been a bit sad. But the NBA is really popping off right now with the Western Conference and Eastern Conference finals underway. So I've been watching those. Yep. It's a lot of fun, a lot of 3-1 comebacks, which a lot of people will know about. So yeah, that's what I've been on this week, mate. What about you?
Nice. So because I essentially inhabit YouTube, like always, I've been watching stuff on there. So I'd seen this channel from a long time ago, but I never really watched a lot of his stuff, and I've been binge watching it this week. And I'm talking about the channel known as Dank Pods. Now, if you said to me, Jacob, would you like to see a YouTube video, not a YouTube video, a YouTube channel where essentially all the person does on there is talk about iPods, I would have said no. However, this has been, this guy's channel is so entertaining. It's fantastic. Like he Frankensteins the shit out of these iPods, and it's a good time. He's a funny dude. And you know, he seems like a really nice bloke who just likes to tinker with old shitty iPods. And I guess I'm here for it. I've watched I think all of his videos now over the span of a week. They're really good fun. So if you're into sort of the more tinkery kind of videos, definitely check out Dank Pods. I think you'll really enjoy it.
By the way, just a correction, Jacob. This is actually our 5th episode.
Oh, it's 5th episode.
It's your 4th episode, but it is our 5th episode, comrade.
You get that on the big jobs. So I guess apart from that, just like the normal things. Podcast. Actually, I started listening to Sex Cells, which is a podcast by Australian comedian Neil Kolhatkar,
yes,
and a co-host whose name I've forgotten. I think it's Eliza. I could be wrong. And she is a psychologist, I believe, or some sort of therapist for your brain, your mental state. Some
sort of
therapist. But yeah, I think she's a psychologist. Anyway, so it's actually been really interesting. So I think there's about 10 episodes, or 10 or 11 episodes, and I've listened to quite a few of them already. It's been really interesting. They delve into the difference between like the difference between men and women. They'll focus on certain things. Like one of them, they said, like, what was one episode of, why don't men open up? There was one about sexist jokes as well. And, all sorts of things, women's mental health, incels, MGTOW, all sorts of things. And they really go in like in depth in a way that doesn't make it boring.
Yeah.
Like you're not sitting, it's not a university lecture. You're sitting there listening to some interesting people talk about interesting topics.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really good. And I can't hear you.
Are you sure?
Oh, now I can.
Okay.
Now I can.
Okay.
Now I can. We'll leave that in. It's all good.
Might have been that cyst in your ear.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There we go. We'll just leave all of that in. It's good content.
Why not?
Great content. So, do you want to get us started with this faker death threats thing?
Yeah. So just to give a quick overview of the League of Legends competitive scene. Essentially, there's a whole lot of like regions for League of Legends now. There's Turkey. There's one for Oceania. There's one in obviously North America. There's Europe. There's 2 servers in Europe, I believe. There's obviously Korea, China, and there's one in Japan. But the major regions are North America, Europe, Korea, and China.
Yeah.
And the international scene, essentially what happens every year is every single one of these regions will have 2 splits. And for North America, at least, there's the spring and summer split. And spring right now doesn't count for anything. Summer, if you're the number one, if you're the top 3 seeds as after the playoffs finish, when you at the end of the finals, if you're one of the top 3, you get to go to the World Championships. So this kind of thing happens for all of the regions. It's like there's a lot of soccer leagues that exist, right? Football leagues. If like the best 3 teams from each one of those soccer leagues was taken for an international competition.
Right. Yeah.
And what's happened here is the Korean competition for the last few years, it's been most recently it's been China, but for a long time the international scene was dominated by Korea, and by one team in particular and by one player in particular. The team was SKT Telecom, and now they are known as just T1. And they were led by a single player who has some brilliant or very cringy nickname of like the God Demon King. I'm not sure. He is.
Maybe it's better in Korean.
Yeah, it's better. I think it is. But this guy is the best player in League of Legends history. Like whether he's coming out to the tail of his career, he is the best player. He's won 3 international championships.
Yeah.
Which is insane. He's gone back to back, which like no one has done. There's a weird curse where the team that wins Worlds the previous year doesn't even make it to Worlds the next year.
Yep.
And his team is the only one to ever go back to back through that. So it is really difficult to stay consistently competitive in this scene. For a long time, his team was. And most recently, his team, T1, they had a very rocky season. Start of the season, they were okay. Middle of the season, it got a bit rough. And then at a certain point, they benched this long-standing legend Faker for a 17-year-old rookie named Closer. That's his in-game name, at least. We in League of Legends, we don't typically name people by their names. And there was a bit of a mixed response to this one. Some fans were very upset because, it's Faker. It's like benching Kobe Bryant or bringing Kobe Bryant off the bench. You just don't do it. Whether he's 40 or 20, doesn't matter. You don't do it.
Yeah.
And so, understandably, to some extent, there was a lot of backlash. But the backlash was in the same vein as also death threats, unfortunately. A lot of threats of physical violence. The thing is, to give a bit more context about the substitution, his team had already essentially clinched a playoff spot, I think. And also, this match in particular was against a pretty weak team at the time. So it was
Yeah.
essentially a throwaway game. And also, Closer, the rookie who took his place, had
Mhm.
just turned 17. So he was just eligible to actually play.
Wow.
So they essentially wanted him to get some chance to play either way, because after that,
Yeah.
they had to play competitively in every single game because they were going to try and make a championship run. So
Yeah, which makes sense. Like you want all your players to be match fit and have some practice.
yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter what sport.
You
Yeah.
see that with the NBA as well. Like you get the young guys a lot of run early on. If you can balance that with your starters, then when the time comes, they can actually step up. Or if you
Yeah, you kill
don't,
it.
then you'll just have end of bench guys who have no experience in the game and they're not going to do anything for you.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that they did that. But
Yeah. Strategically. Yeah.
there was still backlash. But obviously, after his debut, Closer, he played really well. And in Korea they have every single game match, so to say, is best of 3. So they play 3 games. First team to I think they do best of 3. So first team to win 2 games wins.
Yeah.
This guy, he played really well. I don't think there's any point in giving out the stats per se, but he played really well. His T1 they won their games. They won their game, and there was a bit of like the takes were a bit more calm after that. But then towards the end of the season, the playoffs started. T1 they lose one of their first matchups. They then go into the losers bracket, so something like the losers bracket. So essentially,
Yeah.
they have to win every single matchup from that point on, or at least the next few, in order to make it into Worlds.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they failed to win what was called the regional finals. They lost against a team called Gen G, and that match, if you watched it, it was really bad. Like Faker played well. If you look at the stats or if you look at the game itself, Faker played well, but unfortunately, the team itself just seemed like they didn't know what to do. There were missed rotations. There were plays that just made no sense, like players going into locations in the map that just don't make any sense. So T1 they lose 3 games straight. It's best of 5 at this point. They lose 3 games straight, completely dominated, and they don't make it into Worlds, which is very disappointing for a lot of fans, because obviously T1, even if they didn't have the most successful like season in their own region, they are still, I think, internationally the most popular team. Apart from, well, honestly, I think they are, because everyone, obviously, they have a lot of Korean fans. They are going to be there no matter what. But they also have fans internationally because of their international success.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a lot of fans. So for them not to make Worlds, it's pretty upsetting. But then right after that, actually, I forgot to mention, when the first threats came in, the owner of the team, the CEO of the team, put out a letter, essentially saying, where is it? Here we go. We do not tolerate any harassment towards players, coaches, league officials, or fans. But overstepping the lines of fandom with violent threats and hate speech will result in the team exploring legal action to put an end to it. Just exploring.
Good.
So it was a sort of light statement, but it was still like, hey, if it comes to it, we will hit it.
Yeah,
we will
which
hit
is
back.
fair enough.
Yeah,
it's fair enough, because if you're a team, like any professional team, you got to remember, like, teams are businesses.
Yes,
and if you're affecting like the people that work for the business, like there are many businesses that will like stay, hang on a second, like this is our star dude, we're not gonna let you affect his mental state, thus affecting the performance, thus affecting our profits. We're not gonna let that happen.
And like obviously, like I think number one, there was a lot of people talking about Faker, but there was also the entire team. It's like, this is, you don't get to do that. You just do not. This is another person's life. No matter what you think of them in that moment, like, and I guess this is also almost like a personal thing, like, or maybe I'm preaching to some extent, but if you are going to try talk shit to someone over the internet, imagine for a second if that person was in front of you, would you give those same comments in that way? Because yes,
Exactly.
criticism is a good thing. Like if someone played poorly and you can point out certain things that they did or did something they performed poorly in any way, you can honestly point out like, hey, you could have done this differently. That's
Yeah, you bungled
criticism,
it.
that's
Yeah.
feedback, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But would you be willing to say, hey, you're an absolutely terrible player and I hope you end your life to someone in person? No.
No.
So if you are going to make any kind of online statement, I guess having the online wall, so to say, keeps people safe. I guess that's what they're feeling. But T1 essentially came out with a statement after they didn't make after they didn't make Worlds, and said, we have been preparing to take legal actions against these attacks, against these online harassment attacks and threats against our players and staff and their families.
Yeah.
And none of this will be taken lightly. They are essentially saying we are going after anyone who has made a death threat or any kind of threat against our team.
Wow. Yeah.
Which honestly, I am very, very glad that they are doing it. I'm not happy that the situation came to this. Like,
No,
obviously,
didn't need to happen.
Didn't need to happen. And we were talking about this earlier. You were talking about how League of Legends itself has a bit of a toxic player base.
Yeah, I'd say more so than usual. Yeah.
And in regards to that, I think that's potentially so. That there's two parts of it. Number one, obviously, it's MOBAs, but also the biggest MOBA right now is League of Legends. You like Dota 2. It exists. There are players who play. There are people who play it. There's probably a lot of people who play it. But at the end of the day, more people play League of Legends. More people play League of Legends, and so the major issue with such games like such MOBAs is there's a lot of downtime. Like League of Legends, it's like Riot Games has recently released its other massive game, Valorant, which I've been playing for a while, not for a long time, not since release or anything. For the last maybe month or so, I've been playing it. And it's a fun game, but it's also extremely fast paced. You have maybe 20 seconds to get into a certain position, which also includes purchasing the necessary weapons for that round. And then you have to be in position. So you don't have time to open chat and type in those kinds of toxic messages. Whereas in League of Legends, there simply is the opportunity to do it. Like people have the time to, while they're walking from base to their location, whether it's to their turret, they have the time to send those kinds of like toxic messages. And so it feels like the player base is more toxic, but I think the player base is the same either way. It's just the willingness and the ability to be able to say those things. Because in Valorant, if you want to be toxic, you like even if you go on to get yourself killed, there's still a chance for your team to play 4v5. But obviously, like maybe people will get smarter about how they're toxic and start calling out where their teammates are. Okay, but right now, they're like if you want to be toxic, you essentially have to use voice chat, which people are just not brave enough to do.
Yeah, or they don't own a mic.
That's also a fair possibility.
Yeah. Everybody owns a keyboard. If you're playing games on the computer, you own a keyboard. But like that's surefire, but not everybody owns a microphone. So that could be another factor.
It could, but I don't think people are willing to put their voices out and say those things. It's more like the wall of having a computer there. And so this move from T1 to essentially say, like, whether you have the wall of the internet between us, we are still going to come after you. I think like going forwards, that could be massive. Obviously, I don't think that like if someone makes a death threat in a game that I'm suddenly going to be able to pursue legal action against them. But at the very least, it should like be the predecessor for a major change in how not only like players are treated, but maybe even celebrities in Asian countries. Because like there's a lot of issues with how idols and celebrities in whether it's Japan or Korea are treated.
Yeah, the way that the fans interact with them.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the obsession to some extent of them being the like perfect idol, essentially,
Yeah.
is
And I feel a little bit like that sort of it's sort of like really like an idol, like you're idolizing these people,
yeah.
right? So some of that sort of the bad elements are sort of making its way to the West. Like if we talk about stan culture,
Mm, mm.
which like obviously me saying this will piss off a lot of people, but like you're not this person isn't a divine being,
No, they are
right?
allowed to make
They will
mistakes.
make mistakes, and so will everybody else. And like, oh, what was it? Where something terrible had happened to somebody, and somebody just said, "Oh, maybe you should just stand Luna." Like, I can't remember exactly what happened, but that stuck out to me. And people were, even if it was a troll comment, a lot of people were in support with the bloody fan cams in response. And it's like, either this is a hilarious troll, right? Or um or it's people actually doing this. And either way, the fact that it's so like in the wheelhouse of Poe's law, like, where fiction and reality, the lines start to blur, is ridiculous.
Yeah, it 100%.
If yeah.
I do think that like um uh, just to give like just to show again how big Faker is. Just because there's a lot of people who seem to say like being an actor or something is they're such a bigger celebrity than someone in gaming. Um,
Mm.
there's essentially been a recent law that was passed in Korea, South Korea, which essentially exempts idols and professional gamers, professional like League of Legends players, essentially,
Mm.
um, from their military service to a certain like basically pushes it back to a certain age. If they are like competing,
Yeah, that's just how big it is, but I don't know if I really agree with that.
as in,
It's like one thing for one. It's one thing for like the normal person, the common person, but then
I
another
think
for
it's
these.
because like it's like say if um it's essentially like there's a certain age for which you can be relevant in this business.
Yeah.
Like if it's something like IT or I don't know, engineering, those are the ones that come to mind right away, or even medicine. Like you can be a couple of years older and do it anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're an idol and you're like, I don't know, getting into your 30s by the time you start, you're
Hmm.
done. Like no one wants to follow you.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like this is the same sort of criticism I have with the AFL going to Queensland. How come these people get the travel exemption, right? Where everybody else is not allowed to go across state borders
Hmm.
to go play a game and bring their family? Why? I get
Isn't that their job though?
I get the yeah, it's their job, right? But how many other jobs during like this is going a little bit off course,
That's
a bit
fine.
off
That's fine.
tangent, but how many other people's work has been impacted because of the coronavirus? And they've lost their job or their industry just isn't working anymore. If you look at the gig economy, if you look at people
Mm,
like professional musicians who used to play in like wedding bands before this, right? And that was their entire livelihood. They can't do that anymore.
yeah.
So, and even if you could, like, what are you going to do? Like, you can't even travel. You can't even travel 5 kilometers from your home unless you have exemption. At least in the state of Victoria.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is like a really like that's sort of by the by, but my main point is like even here we have this thing of saying like it's one road for these particular people who are doing this sort of job, and then everybody else.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do. And it's like, I can understand, like, hey, it's these people's livelihood as well, right? But why does being a footballer, or in this case, being a K-pop idol or a professional gamer, how come it gives them exemption from things that everybody else has to deal with?
Again, I
Right?
still come back to that same point though. Like, can you name another profession that where there's such a limited timeline? Like, apart from being a professional athlete, or like a K-pop idol, or someone in esports, what other professions are there with such limited timelines? Because if you if you start these if you're forced to, like, because these games require like super insane reactions. If you watch the like League of Legends, they Riot Games, they essentially added a thing called Pro View, so you can see exactly how much the player is doing in every single moment, like
Yeah.
where they're clicking and everything. And you see they're controlling the where they can see, they're controlling their character in the middle of a fight, like the number of things they are keeping track of. It's insane. And if you
Yeah.
suddenly have to take leave of that for, I don't know, several years, you're going to lose that. Like, you're going to lose the ability to do that. And that could honestly be your livelihood. Like,
Mm.
for several years to come, gone. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not just, that you could, it's not just that, like, because once you get into this job, it's like you're in it for as long as you possibly can be. Like,
Yeah.
as long as you can stay relevant. Once you aren't, like, it's like, while you're in it, it is a very valid job. Like, you are getting
Yeah.
paid tons. Like, Faker is getting paid. He's a part owner of his brand.
Mm.
It's insane. And so, like, while you're in it, you're in it. Once you're not, like, once your time has passed, you're done. And
Yeah.
that's when you have to start looking into other things.
Yeah. I mean, you could also talk about like professional musicians as well, like we said before. Like, if you're a band,
Like,
this sort of comes
that's
into the idol thing,
I
right?
guess
Like,
idols
you're
and
either popular now or you're not.
yeah, I guess that's true. I guess
And it's not that doesn't dictate by age as well. Because
Mm.
there's a band here in Victoria, King Parrot, and they were super popular for a while. Like, everybody was talking about them, and they were like in their 40s.
Yeah. But then
Um,
doesn't that sorry, I get that
but if
we're
something happened, what I'm saying is, like, if we take the example of what's happening with the coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
They can't tour. Most bands, right? Not even just bands, most musical acts, the only way that they make money, right, unless they've been able to diversify their income stream, is from tours, right? It's directly related to playing shows. And they've had to stop, right? And, like, why do, like, if we go back to the example of footballers, how come they don't have to? If these other people who also depend, right, on the fact that they're popular now and they need to tour, or they're up and coming and they're starting to gain momentum and they have to stop, how come there's certain people that don't have to?
I guess, yeah. How do you
Right?
measure
Who need the same privileges? They, like, I know there was bands who had their whole year booked to do shows and they can't do that anymore.
Yeah. I guess, yeah,
Because of the
like,
virus.
it's pretty impossible to really
It's
measure popularity.
Yeah, it is hard to measure popularity, but you can like point at the fact that these people who had their year planned for the band, whether it may have been, like, it could have been their biggest year,
Mm.
right? Like, there's one or two bands I can think of that this would have been their big year had none of this happened, right? But they've had to stop, and it's bullshit to me that those in the AFL didn't have to. And in fact, were helped by the government to get them to Queensland to then have a bubble situation. Now, I don't have any problem with, like, I think if you're going to do this, the bubble is the best, right? But as we spoke about before on the Beancast, right? These people don't have a good reputation for being responsible. And I'll leave it at that. But like, it's just, I don't like how there's other fields that need travel, that rely on travel, right? To just like, oh no, you can't do that anymore.
What I will say,
well, can I get like something? Oh no, you don't apply for it because you're a sole trader. That's not how this works. And they go, oh shit, all right, well, guess I'll go fuck myself.
The area where I will say I agree with you is that, like, especially about Australia, and I guess this is very much now off topic.
It is a bit different. I will say it is definitely different to the situation that you're talking about in Korea.
Yeah.
But I really don't like this rich famous person. Yeah, they get to keep doing what they want to do. But you, the person that may be working towards something and it just hasn't materialized yet, nah, too bad.
Well, here's the thing though. Two things I'll point out. Number one, I agree with you on the fact that, like, in Australia, it's very, very strange. Like, for example, we have our own, we have an Australian team going to Worlds this year. Right now, they are in Shanghai. They left from Australia and they have gone to Shanghai.
Also, bit of a side note, very risky move considering the diplomatic relationship between Canberra and Beijing at the moment.
Oh yeah, so like, I feel like League of Legends has completely ignored all political issues right now. I mean, we have there's like 3 North America teams going to Shanghai right now, despite the fact that there's so many issues between the two countries.
Yeah, they're all dead.
But the other thing that I was coming to, oh man, and I've slightly lost my train of thought. Heck, where was I?
You were saying, like, because these people have such a finite amount of time to be able to do the thing that they need to do.
No. There was a different thing, and I might have to ask you to cut this while I'm thinking of what I was saying. Oh man. So there's the Australian team that was supposed to be going. Shut up. I had a thought, and then I'm close to. Oh right, okay, now I remember. All right.
Hey.
Yeah. So there was actually I can't remember which. I think it was someone from BTS, perhaps. A member of BTS went and served his military time, and then came back and maintained his popularity. Like, obviously, he was part of a group, so it's a bit different. Yeah. He went individually during his own time, and then the next guy goes in something like that. But I think there's a very, I guess, personally, I think that if you are a major group like BTS, or even like, there's like so many others, like 17 and all of them, once you're in a group, if you then have to go and serve, there's no issue for you. I think definitely for individual artists, and I guess this is more specific to Korea, because again, this is something that they passed in Korea. It's not a situation here. But like, if you're an individual that's just starting up, that's going to be super rough. But if you're if you're part of a major group and you have to go, it's a very, very different situation. Like, your group is still going to be super popular while you're away. And as well as that, and my friends constantly rag on me for this, but Korean groups, literally every album that they release, they call it a comeback. Did you know that? Every single album that they release, they say, oh, we're doing a comeback release, we're doing a comeback album. Every single album.
It's like John Farman, how it's always, this is my last tour. And then he tours again.
They do that every single time. And so, like, they made the whole comeback thing is massive in Korea. Yeah. So I don't know if this will honestly have that. I mean, like, where there
Wasn't
would have
Black-
had an like for gaming, I understand that
Yeah.
it, like there is an extremely limited period of time where you can start your career, and if you don't,
before you get carpal tunnel. Yeah.
and if you don't start your career then, and you go serve your military time, you're going to lose out on the level of skill that there was in the game that you could have kept growing with.
Yeah.
But
I would
for
say that's the same with any profession almost. Like if you do a highly specialized profession, like you take a year off, you will be worse off when it comes to skills. I think that's anything. Like if your doctor go into like, like they're like 25 or something, they go, I just had 2 years off.
well, no,
But I'm coming back to do brain surgery on you. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
in the military, you also get to choose to do like a medical service.
All right. Let's choose something else then, right? What we choose? All right. So let's say,
Like,
all right. Let's say we had a lawyer, right? And they were out for 2 years,
yeah.
right? And they go, don't worry, I know this case is really difficult, but I feel really refreshed after my 2-year break. Don't worry about it. It's like, one, does this guy even know about certain laws that may have happened over the 2 years that he'd been away and how they actually affect the judicial process, right? And two, is he going to be he's going to be rusty. Like, even if he knew everything, he's still going to be rusty at it. Or this lawyer will still be rusty at it.
Yeah, okay.
It's like any skill, any highly skilled job, like Trump, any.
That's on the video for you guys.
On the video, yeah. If you watch the videos, which you should, because it takes forever because computer hate editing. You're going to be rusty. You're going to be worse at your job if you take any. It doesn't matter what you do. Like, even if you were. The old adage of like, if you learn how to ride a bike, you'll never forget it, right? You will still be worse at it after not riding a bike for 5 years.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Like, I get like what you're saying is they do have a very finite timeline, but then
because
like, what do you do? Because you can't extend it to like, okay, well then only highly professional, like highly
no, because then like the factory workers are like, hey, that's not fair.
Yeah, but even if you're a factory worker, like you still get out of the swing of things.
Yeah,
it's like when I used to work at a pick pack place, right? I used to essentially we get a whole like shopping list essentially, and I'd go around the warehouse and I would put things in a basket and then give it away. You'd be surprised. Like, if you take 2 weeks off, you're like, oh, where's that thing live again?
That's
it's like even small things like that. You're just rusty at it. Like, you've just forgotten like the little bits. Like, you understand like the like 90, 98, 90, 97% of it. It's just that 3% is where that friction comes back.
Yeah.
And that's only after 2 weeks. Now, that could just be me because maybe my brain doesn't work that well. That's probably a fair enough thing to say. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. There's a lot of jobs out there that I think would also, like, if you were a person practicing it, I think you would probably also benefit if you had to serve military time to not have to serve military time, especially when you're young.
All right. Well, that I think we've talked about that one in a lot of depth. But if you have any thoughts on that story, whether it's about what'll happen if what'll happen as a result of someone being able to now file a legal case against someone who threatens someone online, let us know. If you have any thoughts about Korea's change of their military service role, let us know. And any other thoughts in general, let us know in the comments. And I think that's enough time to move on to the next one.
Yeah, just no death threats. Fuck you.
Yes,
all right,
please.
Moving on. Moving on.
Yeah.
So, Trump has finally given the ban hammer to TikTok and WeChat as well. I think there might have been one
WeChat
other as well. Yeah. So, I think we all saw this coming.
I'll say I was a bit confused because like maybe like earlier in the week it was like, oh yeah, Oracle wins the bid for it. TikTok is saved, and then
Yeah.
like today I see reports saying, oh no, it's gonna be banned. You guys have a
Mm.
couple of days, and then no more updates.
Yeah. It
Similar
was
to what
confusing because even after mere hours of Oracle announcing, or whoever it was announced that Oracle had uh, it was the one that was going to buy TikTok, right? Then for ByteDance to come out and go, no such deal exists. Like literally hours
yeah,
afterwards.
yeah. It was
Like
just
if,
a
if
whole
if the original article was published, or the original statement was published at like 8:30 in the morning, we're talking by like the time you sit down to eat your lunch, ByteDance went, nah, it's not happening.
yeah.
It was
Um
weird. Like the whole thing is
Well, even in the
oddly
beginning, it
handled.
was a whole lot. It was a really weird situation because, man, honestly, I think there should be a drinking game for this show. Whenever I say it's a really weird situation,
Yeah,
I think I
I
said,
was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, wow, I really do say just like end off like it's just really weird. It's just so strange.
but like, it wasn't even the plan in regards to Oracle wasn't even a full sale. It was like,
Mm,
oh, you're going to be able to handle the one part of what our company does. It was a partnership, not a sale. It would have been
yeah,
a partnership where Oracle now would have now handled all the data that previously was entirely handled by TikTok and ByteDance. Um,
yeah.
and so that was the plan. And then it turns out Trump, who he's been, I guess he's been consistent with his statements about TikTok, saying that it must become a fully US owned company.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess I wanted to talk about that as well, which is it's not really strange. It's just like it feels weird that like USA is like they're able to say, "Hey, this app exists. It now has to be ours. Thanks."
Yeah, it has like no app, no competing app could be from any other country, right? That isn't US aligned. It has to be from us.
Yeah, it's like because they've seen Facebook through Instagram Reels and Google through YouTube, what they've just introduced, which we'll talk about a bit later, are trying to
Yeah,
introduce competitors. But everyone knows that these aren't going to work. The only way to really win
yeah,
out on this kind of app is to get the original.
yeah. I just want a quick tangent out of Reels or YouTube's new thing. What do they call it, like shorts or something?
Yeah,
I'm not even sure. Um, which one do you reckon will work better?
Reels for sure.
You reckon Reels?
I
I was
think
thinking,
actually no. So here's the thing. I think no, shorts will work better on YouTube because people are like, easier way of editing. It's already what YouTube has been about.
yeah,
They've always been trying to do that. Like in YouTube itself, you can do a whole lot of editing already. Like
yeah,
slightly trimming things, putting on certain banners, blurring. You can do a fair bit of stuff. So minimal editing, I think it'll work on YouTube probably better than it does on Reels.
mm,
But I think either way, it's like there's one it's like when there's a gold medalist, there's a silver medalist, and then there's two guys at the back who are like competing super hard to try and be the bronze medalist. It's like no one cares about you guys. No one is. It's like
yeah, yeah. I think that because if we look at TikTok and the reason why it even got off the ground, like in the West, really, right? Um, was because the algorithm. That's the magic and the beauty behind TikTok is that it knows what you want to watch.
mm, mm,
And what I think is going to happen out of either Reels or YouTube's equivalent is YouTube will win because YouTube already is in the game of marketing videos to you. And yeah, like Instagram has IGTV already, right?
mm.
But very rarely do I want to watch the video that comes up next.
Oh, isn't like if you watch the entire thing and then it scrolls to the next one. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because the
yeah.
thing about like if you talk to TikTok users, the next video is always something they want to watch.
Yeah.
Like
No, Instagram has
90% of the time.
Instagram has no handle. It's the same with Facebook as well. Like
it's garbage.
Like I watch one video because maybe I wanted to watch it, but then it tries to go to the next one, but it's something completely irrelevant.
Oh, and not to mention bloody Facebook is. I haven't been on Facebook for a while, thank God. I only have to use it for work. But oh my God, like over the auto playing, it's almost as bad as if you go on a news site. This is the thing. I want to have a rant. I hate auto playing videos, right? Especially when your player doesn't work properly, right? Like I don't want to watch this video. It's completely unrelated, and I have no choice in watching. I have to like wait for it to autoplay, then pause. Like if we're talking about a news site, like I was trying to look at something on news.com.au the other day, right? And I watched the video. I went, okay, that's all I want to watch. I don't want to watch the videos up next. There is no option.
It'll just
I have to wait.
The timer goes, and then it starts the next one, and you can't cancel that, right?
Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. And not to mention, you can't. What was the thing? You can't. There is a word. There is a word. Keeping it in. It's good content. Look, I've forgotten my train of thought. We'll just throw it out of the bin. Minimal editing show. Minimal editing show because that's part of the reason why I needed the break is because I put too much on my plate.
Yeah.
And I got frazzled. And now this show's just going to be easy breezy fun. And you're going to see unless it's like a really egregious error, I think everybody's just going to see everything from now on.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Just warts and all. If you can't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
Oh.
But news sites, like their video player is always bad.
Yes.
Oh, that was the thing, right? I don't want to wait for your ad to load. I don't want to wait for it, right? I just want to watch the video. Like, how dare you serve me this ad that I've had to wait to load, right? And then the video I get, it doesn't work. Like it just goes. I remember one time I was watching something from an American place. It showed me the ad and then said this video isn't allowed in your region. The absolute nerve, right? I don't even
the audacity. The
audacity. This is the real crime in our society. Yes, we do live on one.
Yes.
Is that I hate it so much, and it frustrates me to no end. But back to my point, I think YouTube will win out of Reels and itself, like its own product, just because now Reels has had a head start. I think it's got a better name, right? And it's integrated into Instagram. It kind of already looks like the same sort of thing.
Yeah, like I can't tell the difference most of the time.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I think that works quite well. However, YouTube is way better at recommending video.
Yes. One thing
and they spend a lot more time and a lot more money and a lot more effort already expended in previous years of delivering you videos.
I find it interesting to remember is that I don't know if people even know. I guess people know this. YouTube has stories.
Oh yeah, who watches them?
Right?
Very rarely. No. Very rarely.
At the end of the day, YouTube Shorts will essentially be the same thing as YouTube normal videos. It's just it needs simpler editing system.
Yeah, I think it almost needs. Remember how YouTube had YouTube Gaming?
Yeah.
Oh God, what a flop that was. But I think if you had a separate thing, like if you were on the web version of it, first of all, I don't know why you'd be on the web version of a TikTok equivalent, unless you were managing your account.
Yeah,
which is fair enough. But if you're consuming a TikTok or similar, I don't know why you'd be on your computer doing it, but you should be in a different area.
Yeah.
Right? It should be separated, and it should be separated on the app. But YouTube has decided to integrate it, to bake it into the current app, and it's coming. So I think it's already in India. Already, they're already testing in India, which makes sense because as we discussed last time, TikTok, India was like its biggest market.
Yes, and now this is
India
their replacement.
loved TikTok. Yeah, and then they've got like 2 replacements that we know of that I think they're developed by Indian firms as well. I could be wrong, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were.
Yeah,
because they would know the market best. I would imagine.
Yes,
but anyway, like so, it's happening in India. This trial of this new YouTube feature, and it's happening on Android only for obvious reasons. You know, YouTube owns Google. YouTube is owned by Google. Google owns Android. It's easy to put it on Android because you don't have to jump through as many hoops. But I think it would be better if they put it in their separate app. Yeah. And I think that's probably what they'll find.
Yeah.
I think they'll find it would be better if it was in a different app. People might actually watch it more.
To be fair, yeah, I do think it'll make. I actually didn't think about what you mentioned in regards to India. I honestly forgot that TikTok was banned in India. But if they get a good replacement, like I'm guessing this will get like a fair bit of acknowledgement in India at least, and they'll be like, okay, great success, move elsewhere. But at the end of the day, like if TikTok is already in America, like is moved to an American company, then I don't think there'll be any need. Like they'll I guess TikTok will remain dominant essentially.
Yeah. That's the thing is like as you mentioned before. I don't know if you mentioned it on the podcast, but you definitely mentioned to me before it is that India at the moment loves America.
Yes.
So if an American firm owns TikTok, which won't happen for multiple reasons, I'm sure they would be fine with TikTok coming back to India.
So let me ask you this. Is TikTok in America, do you think it's fully done? Like, do you think it is dead now?
If Trump bans it.
Obviously, similarly to Fortnite, like it's going to, like people who have it already, they're still going to be able to use it, but it's not going to receive any more updates.
Yeah.
But do you think it is, as a result of that, do you think it's dead now? Or is it dying in the process? Is it in the process of dying?
It's definitely dying. The only thing I can think of is because, I mean, we've been on YouTube for years. You've seen people, obviously from China right on YouTube before, right? So, and they're probably still in China, probably just use a VPN. So I'd imagine you could probably just use a VPN and get around it.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. Well, it depends how dedicated you are. And then you're ending up paying for a premium service, right? One that you have to pay for to then use a free app.
Well, that's the other thing is that the vast majority of TikTok users are young teens to children.
Yeah.
How? I mean, they probably don't. I mean, maybe some of the older ones might know what VPNs are, but like the majority of kids are. What's a VPN? Why can't I use TikTok anymore? Is their only question.
Yeah, and they're kind of pricey too, considering it's a subscription model. I think the cheapest one from memory was private internet access.
Okay.
And they're not even very good at location spoofing. I mean, they're getting better, but could be better. But they were fairly cheap when I was looking one for myself. But that's another thing you have to take into account. It's like these things are kind of pricey, and you do get a discount if you buy for a longer period of time. Like I think it becomes significantly cheaper if you buy a 3-year plan, but you're putting that money down up front.
Yeah.
Now, for an adult who works like myself and yourself, right? If we were really keen on saving that money and we knew that we wanted to stay with private internet access or any other supplier or any other VPN service, we could theoretically put the money down. It wouldn't be an issue, right? I don't like spending that much money in one go. It gives me the bad feelings. But I could do it.
Yeah.
Right? In theory, I have the capability to do it. I don't know how many kids are going to be able to go like, oh yeah, $500 to do TikTok on their $1,000 phone.
Yeah.
right? Now, I don't imagine that a lot of these kids have bought their own phones. Just like when we were growing up, how many kids bought their own consoles, right?
Yeah.
But I also find it difficult to believe that there'd be many parents out there willing to buy their kids VPNs
Especially for like
for a banned
for
app.
the parents, maybe if it was Netflix or something, they might consider it. But I don't see any reason for it for TikTok.
Trying to, like, my parents are obviously a lot older than the parents of the people that we're talking about, right? Like 12 to 13-year-olds. But trying to explain the value proposition of a VPN can be quite difficult, especially if you're not, especially if the person you explain to it isn't tech savvy.
Yes.
One of the great ones is, you can watch Netflix from any country.
Yeah.
But then you have to hope that your parents into watching Netflix anyway.
Yeah.
Or similar service, if they're the Hulu or Stan. So I reckon that this will kill TikTok. I think what we'll see is that a lot of people that were using it religiously are not going to use it. I think that's what will happen first.
Actually, let me added one more interesting thing on this. Charlie D'Amelio, I got her name right this time. She had, look, it's perfectly understandable. She's opened an account in Triller as well, the TikTok competitor.
Yeah. Does anybody use that though?
Well, enough people use it that on her first day in, she got 1 million followers.
All right,
there you go.
I mean, it could be bot accounts. Like, if I'm feeling cynical, it could be bot accounts, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Pardon me.
And as well as that
one out.
A lot of the same thing happens with with TikTok as it did with Musical.ly and as it does with podcasts and YouTube. People come for the content, but they stay for the personality. She started uploading on YouTube regularly now.
Yeah, I think
so like
whoever's managing her been like, look, the writing's on the wall here.
Yeah.
We're going to have to diversify what you do.
I mean, that's the thing.
If she has a team behind it too, it's like it's not that much more work.
She is like, there's some people, for example, PewDiePie, who signed an exclusive streaming deal with YouTube. Understandable, but she would like a lot of these TikTok users who are really popular have absolutely no ties to TikTok. It's just where their audience watches them.
Yeah.
So like. There is no issue for them to just say, "Oh, I'm going to be here as well as my content on TikTok. I'm going to upload my stuff to both places." And now it's not that, because like there's her audience on TikTok will stay on TikTok. At this point, if she's going on Triller and still getting 1 million followers, that's got to be extra. To me, I'm pretty sure that's going to be extra. She's getting more followers there by diversifying.
Yeah, there would be the potential of reaching an audience that you weren't able to reach before.
Yeah, like some people who are like, oh, TikTok is Chinese, I'm not going to use it. But Triller, that's American, I'm going to use that. And so, hey, this person is really good at dancing.
I think that might be a total of 3 people, but that is still 3 extra people.
Well, not for Charlie, she's got 1 million followers.
I mean, there's probably people that have come over from TikTok, I would imagine.
Like, there's obviously people
I don't think
like
anybody that's on Triller really wants to be on Triller. I think they want to be on TikTok and they've just had to go with the next best thing. I think that's fair to say.
But also to be completely clear, I've not used either app. I don't know whether one has better usability than the other. So maybe it's the Google Plus kind of situation where it's actually better. It works better, has better functionality than Facebook, but it just doesn't have a user base.
You know how we talked about the other week where I said that the one massive stuff up that Google did was make you have a Google Plus account to have a YouTube account.
Yes.
Imagine if they went, now you have to have a Google Shorts account before you can be on YouTube.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
could you imagine? You got to renegade to get your uh to get your YouTube account. You got to chuck the word. You got to.
yeah. All right, shall we? Well, obviously, in regards to that, if you have anything you want to say, for example, what do you guys think? Is TikTok dead? Is it dying? Will it stay alive? Will its competitor Triller, which they don't even realize exists, take over? Will
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts be the next big thing? Let us know in the comments below. But
Yeah.
that is time to move on to the next thing that you wanted to
Actually,
bring up.
I just want to quickly
Oh.
say, can you imagine Oracle actually buying TikTok though? How long have they been developing Java for? How many times have you had to update Java when you've just updated Java?
The thing is, though, like I delay it for so long that by the time I do eventually update it, it's understandably there's another one already out.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you try to keep it up to date because it still doesn't work properly.
Yeah, true.
So I think it's actually a blessing in disguise for TikTok. I think it's just better to let it die.
Are. I forgot what they did.
Yeah, it's Java. I mean, they do a whole bunch of other stuff too, but Java's the main one that you and me would interact. Yeah,
well,
no, it'd be
actually,
ridiculous.
No. Dude, mobile apps always are updating. It's like literally the exact same thing. Did you know Among Us got a mobile update? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that either.
Anyway, yeah, moving on.
Mobile games, interesting. Got any games on your phone?
You got any games on your phone? Can I use your phone?
You got any games? So moving on to the next topic, which is a lot more somber for me. So some of you may be aware, I've spoken about it very briefly before, that I dedicate a lot of my spare time to learning language, and the language I learn currently is Japanese. I had been using an approach called the mass immersion approach, which was founded by a person who goes on YouTube as Matt versus Japan and another man called Yoga. And unfortunately, not all good things last. Not everything was meant to last. And they've had a split. Now, that's all I should be able to say at this stage. However, there's a lot more to say because Yoga, or Lucas is his actual name, has made it this way. So it is a bit messy and it will be a bit windy. I do ask that if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, to please stay with me. But I'll do the best I can because it is a bit messy. So essentially, these two people have been working together for a while. Matt had already grown an audience on YouTube speaking about another approach to learning Japanese, which could be applied to pretty much any other language, really. But it was called AJAT, which stood for All Japanese All the Time, and it's a really hardcore immersion approach. Now, as the name suggests, it's literally all Japanese all the time. So for a lot of people, that's a massive turn-off because, like you and I, like we have other things to do.
Yeah.
Right? I've got work to do. I have other hobbies. When I can actually go back outside again to hug the homies, I will also be doing that. My life can't just be Anki flashcards and watching anime, 80% of which I don't understand. So Matt had been preaching hardcore AJAT at first, I think, with a few minor changes. But as he got older, as he's matured, he's realized, hang on a second, this isn't for everybody. And this sort of coincided around the time when he started working with Lucas, who said, who's got time for 10,000 sentences? Who's got time to just for 10 hours a day to immerse? It's ridiculous. Nobody got that time. Nobody has it. Or very
you go to
imagine
you go to work and you have to still immerse yourself, but you have to also communicate with your colleagues.
Dude, it'd be a nightmare.
It's impossible. Genuinely impossible unless you're staying at home all the time.
So this is for the person who. So they came up with an approach called the mass immersion approach, or MIA for short, where it allows for somebody who is a dedicated language learner, right, who has the discipline to follow through and spend a lot of time on the language, just not all the time. It allows you to have a life, right? And that was the idea. So essentially how it worked out is that Matt, who already had a fair following in the community, in the language learning community, would be the face of the brand, right? He is essentially like, if you think about how Steve Jobs or Tim Cook, how they approach it. Like, yeah, they're the CEO, right? Like, just put that by the side. But they were like, this is Apple, right? Much in the way, like, if you rolled Bill Gates out, you go, this is Microsoft. They're big people. It's like, yeah. You could do those for a number of people who have tied their personal brand, or used their personal brand to help the actual brand that they're working for or working at, or whatever you want to say it. Like Elon Musk being another example. And Lucas and whoever else is behind the scenes, apparently there's a fella called Sean. I'd only just heard about it over the past couple of days since this is all unfortunately blown up. And they would be the back end guys. And obviously it was up to Matt being like, hey, look, yeah, sure, I'm the face of it, but there's a lot of people behind me in the kitchen doing all the work, hey? It's not just me, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Now, Lucas, this is one of Lucas's qualms or issues with Matt, is that he wasn't that good at spruiking the fact that it's MIA, it's not just Matt, right? There's a team behind him. There's a team behind the things that he's talking about. And he was upset about that. Now, fair enough. If you'd been putting a lot of effort and work into something and it was meant to be a team effort, like, keep in mind that this was a partnership, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even an LLC yet. It was just a partnership. So there's that factor. The other thing he said is that Matt's productivity wasn't at what he expected. Now, Yoga, or Lucas, has been known, or has made it known rather, that he is an extremely productive person, like almost obsessive. Like the way he was talking about, like the amount of like Anki flashcards he did originally to learn like Chinese and RTK. Like he went through, do you know the book Remembering the Kanji?
Yeah.
He did it. Like he did like 50 cards a day until it was done. That's a lot of time. That is a hell of a lot of time, especially if you're also doing the creation of it too. You just haven't downloaded a pre-made deck.
Yeah.
So he's clearly very dedicated and well done. Like that's not something a lot of people can do.
No.
And it sounds like to me he also brings the same mentality to his work. Now, one thing about Lucas is he does come off a bit abrasive. He is a bit of a disagreeable person. There's no problem with that. But he definitely seems like it would be a hard person to work with. And before we get into that part, Lucas had made a video called, it was a 40-minute video called The Truth Behind Matt versus Japan. I thought that exposed videos were very 2018, but
we're still not past
old,
that.
It is new again. Yeah, exactly. So essentially, this is a weird video because it wasn't like the normal exposed video.
That's the thing. So I haven't watched it myself, but like, I assume you've watched some amount of it.
I made myself watch all of it.
Okay, but like for an exposed video, it's like, why is then the description super excited to be able to move in my own direction?
Yeah, so this is the thing that is an issue. Now, Lucas describes a lot of bad things that Matt did, and he also brings up evidence, right? Now, it all looks really bad for Matt. right? To be fair, like if you only watch that video, it does look pretty bad for Matt. However, the first thing I thought when watching it, right, is wow, that's really weird that you're defaming Matt in the same video that you're spruiking your new thing.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy is super bad. That's why I'm here. I'm the best. Right? Like, and I want to say just right now, before we get any further, I think there's no issue with the fact that Yoga and Matt had
Disagreements.
They had disagreements and they couldn't figure them out, and they're going to move on from working with each other. That's 100% fine.
That happens in life. Any kind of business.
That's literally life. It happens. It's not even just business. It's friends as well.
Anything really. Just become different people.
Yeah, shit happens, right? Nothing wrong with that. What I've got a problem with is when you go out of your way to defame the person, right? I remember reading in the comments, it said like, wow, it looks like you're really trying to take down Matt while also like bringing yourself up. And yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. It just falls apart. Like he says that Matt had done many immoral things like steal the Patreon money and other bits and pieces, like lie about trying to work, trying to strong arm him into an agreement. But then he does this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. He's like, this guy, terrible fella, like terrible bloke. Don't deal with him.
But then,
but then, should definitely work with me. Don't worry about the fact that I'm completely defaming him.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make his life more difficult. Now, I get that he could be annoyed. Like, I understand why Lucas is annoyed, right? Because I do think that Matt should have been more productive than he was.
Yes.
Which is when I was stuck into what Matt said. So Matt, I want to say 2 days, I believe.
2 days ago, yeah, 2 days.
Yeah, that had after Yoga had put up his video. Lucas
those were literally video. Like 1 day apart.
Yeah. Matt gave his side, right? It was a much shorter video. Less than half the length of Lucas.
It is 6 minutes and 23 seconds.
Wow, there you go. See? That's what I mean. And if you watch the video, Matt only says his side. He doesn't go out of the way to make Lucas look bad. He only says what needs to be said.
Yeah. It's a lot shorter.
And he comes off mature about it. He's like, yeah, I probably should have been more productive. But like, I've working with Lucas because I felt like nothing was ever good enough for him. I developed a bit of depression. And as somebody like myself who has or tackles mental health challenges, right? Like that was part of the reason why I needed a little bit of time off, because I was just like, because of all the stuff I was doing, it sort of just wore me out quicker than perhaps a regular person. I just needed a break. And to not be as productive as usual. And if it's your first, I don't know like Matt's mental health history, but if it's your first time dealing with mental health issues, it's difficult. It's I would say it's harder than if you're used to it.
Yeah.
Because you don't, first of all, you don't know what it is. And then he says that, he's like, I didn't know what was happening to me. Right? And he goes, I went to go see somebody about it finally. And they said, like, yeah, you've been experiencing depression. And like, so that's got me a little bit more sympathetic to Matt. But even if you put that aside, the way that Matt handled it was far more mature. Now, Lucas said in his video that Matt is still young and Matt is still immature. And yeah, I think Matt would agree.
Yeah.
Right? If he had, I can't remember every detail of the video that Matt made, but I think he would agree. He is immature, you know. But you know what else is immature? Dragging somebody that you used to work with, and then not even to mention, he recorded Matt the conversation they had without his consent.
Which is, by the way, 100% illegal.
Illegal. At least in Australia, I'm sure it's probably the same in the United States.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to get into legal business about that. Like recording someone without their permission is definitely illegal.
Yeah. So not to mention, we don't know how much footage Lucas has. It could have just been that one conversation or two conversations. I believe he showed was two separate ones.
But it wasn't just the recording, was it? It was also then taking the conversations and deleting them so that...
yes. So he downloaded all the text combos that they had on Discord and then deleted them so Matt couldn't see, right? So now Lucas has all this like venom waiting to go, right? And there's no way he didn't purposely choose the worst of Matt to show, right? Because now at first I would think, right, if you just saw Lucas talking from like a script, it could just be the way that he talks from when reading a script. Everybody talks differently when it comes to that. Some people are better at reading it than others. And I would say that Lucas perhaps isn't the best at reading a script. He does come off kind of, as I said before, he's a bit abrasive. And there's nothing wrong with that, really. But then you watch videos like they had a bit of a chat with somebody else that's very prominent in the Japanese language learning community, Nuke Marine. And I was watching, I was like, damn, just let Nuke talk. Like, this poor bloke was getting spoken over so much. And I feel like a lot of the time, if it had been for Matt been like, no, he didn't mean it like that. He meant it like, he clearly meant it like this. I think what Nuke was saying would have like been completely disregarded by Lucas. Not completely, but a lot of the points that he was saying would have just been like,
brushed off.
Yeah. Fluff. But it's just really unfortunate. And as I was saying before, it's super immature to defame somebody and then at the same time go, I'm the best.
Follow me.
But
the other part of it is also that he went public.
That's the thing. This is the other thing, right? He had a recorded call with a lawyer, right? He played snippets of his call with a lawyer. And the lawyer said, yeah, it's probably open and closed. I think you got a really strong case here. But we don't know if the lawyer knew the fact that he had recorded Matt without his permission and done all deleted the conversation after downloading it so Matt couldn't look at it. Now, I'm no legal expert.
But that hurts the case.
That doesn't look good. No, it doesn't look good socially, right? It will definitely not look good legally, right? You've gone out of your way to pull somebody else down. Yes, I understand you've had disagreements. Yes, I understand that you're frustrated, but there's no reason why you two couldn't have split and settled it outside of the public eye.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you couldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And now Lucas brings up, we did try to settle it, right? And Matt gave me options, but he tried to strong arm me into signing things and bits and pieces like that. Like Matt wanted him to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, before he signed like a document about the split of the Patreon money, which is how the project was largely funded, was from Patreon. And I can understand like why Lucas would be apprehensive about signing something like that, especially without the presence of a third party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think Lucas is right. There should be an unbiased third party, right, witness, right, or mediator rather, to this agreement, like to this signing.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't excuse what Lucas did, I think. Yeah,
so
Matt definitely did stuff up. He should have been more productive. He should have been more mature about it. He probably should have stood up to Yoga a bit more. I think that would have actually helped.
Like there needs to be discussion, right? Like her open, healthy discussion for anything to move forwards.
Now, they say, Lucas says, right, that the three of them had spoken. So the other bloke, Sean, right, I briefly mentioned, who's helping doing some bits and pieces for them in the later part of them working together.
Yeah.
But it's just it just didn't need to happen like this.
So there's two parts of this to me that I'm seeing, and it'll go a bit off tangent. But number one is that, like, by going public first, I feel like that seems like very much like a tactic to me from Lucas. By going public first, he gets to try and control the narrative to some extent. And honestly, he could have done a much better job of it. Like, I'm not critiquing his expose video, but like there was better things he could have said to, make himself look better in the public eye.
Yeah. How much easier would it have been? Just been like, we've had some differences, and
like, even if
I've decided to no longer work in MIA, and you'll hear about my new project shortly.
Even if he wanted to like expose to some extent what Matt had done, there are still better ways of doing it. Like, I guess I'm teaching someone who did a bad thing how to do a bad thing, but like he could have just like he could have honestly said like, hey, sir, Matt, he wasn't pulling his weight. He was trying to steal money. And then you finish it there. Instead, he's gone and talked about legal action and then also recording conversations. It's like, why?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like the video goes like Matt bad, right? This is how Matt bad. This is why I'm good. New project. This is why I'm right.
It's a very poor job of attempting to control a narrative.
Yeah,
and the other part of it is like. Again, this is a situation like that. I know there are situations. I can tell you an example of a situation where, in like direct attempts to show someone that what they're doing is wrong, or that why something needed to happen, they can exist. This is not one of those. Like, if I want to give you an exact example, offline TV, there was a situation where one of the members, Fedmeister, was doing inappropriate things to some of the girls who were living in that house without their permission. And they would have discussions about it. And then he would be very apologetic for a little while, and then he would go and do the exact same thing the next day. And it was just a cycle of that, because he was also a very big YouTuber. He was one of the biggest streamers at the time. He was a very well-liked personality. So it was hard to talk to him, I guess. And so the only way to help him understand is to show him that there is a genuine consequence. And now they've removed him from the house, and they also explained to everyone exactly what happened, both for their own sake and so that that everyone knows exactly what happened in the most concise way possible. But this is not one of those. This is not one person trying to directly harm another. This is not like, trying to help another person by telling them all this publicly and by forcibly giving them a consequence. This is just trying to control a narrative and then attack someone else.
Yeah, he does say like this is meant to be like a little lesson for Matt, right? But there are ways and there are ways.
Yes.
Yeah. I also want to say, like, yes, Lucas, if you are watching, right?
By any chance.
By any chance, I do look forward to the Megaku tools that you'll make for Anki, right? Because it is 100% fair to say that the tools that Lucas made for MIA are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like if you've been trying to make sentence cards, like if you follow the MIA approach, sentence card creation can take a lot of time. And the tools that Lucas has created, like it is Lucas, right? That's created these, not Matt. It is Lucas. They are fantastic.
Yeah.
Right? No doubt about it. Yeah, they're unfinished, right? Lucas admits it himself. They are unfinished. And he states reasons as to why. If you're keen to find out like why he says it, look at his video. Right? But Matt also serves an important role. Yeah, he should have written more articles. Yeah, he should have made more YouTube videos. Yeah, he should have mentioned the fact that MIA is a team effort and not a solo endeavor, right? He should have really driven that home, especially with big collaborations he did, like with Dogen, you know?
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Matt is a good face of a brand. He comes across, like, especially in the later years, like especially in the last 2 to 3 years, he's really calmed down. He's really sort of matured. You can tell. He's a good face of the brand. He's somebody who used a similar technique and reached fluency. Right? This guy is he's even getting his pitch accent down. Right? He's really up there. He'd be probably in the first percentile of non-native Japanese speakers, no doubt about it. You know, and Lucas is not bad himself. Like, you can tell he has an American accent, but that's by the by. People have different goals, and that's the reason. Like, that's the beauty of MIA. It can fit whatever goal that you got. So. But Matt serves an important role of being the face and being a good face of the brand. He comes across genuine. He comes across, and he is somebody who's done it. You know, he's been through it.
Yeah.
And like, if you know anything about advertising, especially in the online world, having a strong personality, like a personal brand, having a strong personal brand is so important to a company's success, especially if you're starting up, you know? And I don't know, like, Lucas didn't really give him that sort of credit in the 40-minute video that he made.
That was
right,
I guess.
And I've only watched part of the video where he chats to Sean, it's Chuck, where he chats to Chuck about this.
Yeah.
Who's somebody else. I think it might have been a friend or a potential business associate before he decided to work on MIA. But that's the other thing, is he's talking like, I sacrificed all this stuff to work on MIA. That's your choice. Yeah, you made the wrong choice. We all make mistakes. We all have regrets, right? Like, there's things that I've done that I've not been happy with, that I've not been proud of, right? But you got to take it in your stride. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have worked with Matt because he doesn't work the same way that you work.
And that's something you're allowed to explore and understand, find out, and then move on from. There was no need to do this sort of, like, he's a bad person almost type of video.
It should have been settled out of public eye, especially if it's legal. And if Lucas wanted to win his case, he especially shouldn't have done this. Right? Like, it's just it's a situation that didn't need to happen. It's unfortunate that it even got to the point where it could happen, right? Don't get me wrong. You know, Matt, if you're watching, probably should have written some more articles, probably should have recorded more YouTube videos.
And hopefully you can take this to try and work on yourself a little bit on that.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I also understand about mental health, like I said before, right? Diagnosed with general anxiety disorder. So I completely understand. But if you're in a business relationship, you got to make sure that you're good for it. That's the unfortunate and harsh reality.
Yeah.
However, as I've already said it, right? But Lucas should have not made that video in the manner that he made it.
Yeah.
Right? It should have just been, hey guys, starting a new project, I'm moving on. Me and Matt no longer seeing eye to eye.
Simple.
More details in the future.
Yeah.
That should have been it. Until something happened, till a resolution was started to be worked out.
Because right now, he's hurt himself by...
He's hurt both brands.
Yeah.
He's hurt both brands. Like, it's... Some may say it's too early to tell.
Yeah.
You might be right. You might be right. And to be fair, like when I was saying, like Lucas has an abrasive personality. Like I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, right? But his personality does connect with other people who have a similar personality. It's like there's a Twitch streamer, I believe, called Vosh, and I've stumbled upon some of the clips that he's had on YouTube, and he comes off abrasive in a similar way. Not exactly the same, but a similar manner. And I imagine most of his fan base is similar because like attracts like, really, a lot of the time, especially with more harder or less, that's kind of rude, but I don't know a better way to put it, less palatable personalities, right? People with less palatable personalities tend to go towards or tend to enjoy other people with less palatable personalities, right? Because you're more likely to see eye to eye.
Yeah.
So, point being, if we all wrap this up, Matt should have done more. Lucas shouldn't have done the video. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I think another reason why Lucas did it is because it's still fresh.
I don't know. I mean, there's definitely worth to wanting to rant about something, but that again, like, if I want to go on an emotional rant, I'm not doing it, and I'm not having it. I'm not recording it and putting it out there. I'll talk to someone I like personal about it, and
you got your mates. You got your mates. You got your family. Yeah. Anyway. And Lucas is married, so you could talk to his wife about it.
Yeah.
It's just, it was completely unnecessary, and it's just really unfortunate. Because what I think they did have going was something good.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that they weren't compatible. 2, Matt's issues with productivity. And 3, the way that Lucas handled it.
Yeah.
And even Matt, to a certain extent, the way that he handled it. Because his reluctance to get a third party involved.
Well, terrible. Again, this is a whole lot of he said, she said. So it's really just like...
That's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Waiting to see who... Because, again, the unbiased third party is the only one who will really be able to find out and tell... Well, again, it's hopefully more a private issue. Hopefully we don't actually know what actually happened.
Yeah, and I think Lucas has really shot himself in the foot with making that video.
But yeah, and at the end of the day,
if I was him, I would hope that I would delete the video and hope that nobody had already downloaded it.
Oh no, it's the internet. It's downloaded. There's no chance. Yeah. But what I will say is, hopefully we honestly don't hear what happens any further from here, because
that's how it should be.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to know about it.
Yes,
right. It should have just been, we're not working together. Both of them should have made a statement, either text statement or video statement, saying, we are no longer working together. We don't see eye to eye. You'll hear more details in the future, right?
Yeah.
Just to appease the people that do want to know, right? And then in the future, maybe in a live stream or something, like very casually, right? Or you could even just make a text post. Fuck it, just have a text post. Just say like,
and at least you can also,
and very civilly as well. I want to say, like, be mature about it, right? If Lucas wants to be, if Lucas is talking about mature, let's be mature, right? You would just have it like, this is what's happened, right? These are like, this is my reasoning for not wanting to work with Matt, right? And try to leave out the things that would damage somebody's reputation, right? And Matt could say the same thing about Lucas, right? And then you would have, like, but we wish, the other person, well on their endeavors, like Lucas would just say, like, I look forward to seeing whatever MIA is bringing out, because I'm pretty sure at this stage it looks like that's going to be Matt's thing from now on.
Yeah.
And Matt should just say, I'm looking for whatever Migaku is going to be putting out. For me personally, I look forward to both, right? But it's just a damn right shame that it had to come to this.
And it'll leave a bad taste in people's mouths going forwards. But I guess, again, if you do you have anything else to add on that, or?
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
no. Oh no.
Had to be said.
Yeah.
Because it's the truth. I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But again, if you have any thoughts on how this situation could be handled differently, let us know. If you think that, I guess maybe let us know where you stand. Do you think that Lucas, do you think his video was appropriate? Do you think he could have handled it differently? How should he have handled it? And what do you think will happen? I guess let us know in the comments below.
Yep. Let me know if it also makes you sad. 'Cause it makes me sad.
Real sad boy hours.
Sad boy.
But yeah, guys, Jacob finishing up.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment. YouTube loves engagement. We also have the audio only option. So if you or another friend or whoever prefers auditory experience only, we do have that option. Just look down in the description below the video and you'll find it. Make sure to follow us, the show, and both of our personal accounts on Instagram if you're into that. Links to those will also be below. Links to everything we've spoken about tonight will be down below.
And if you're interested in some extra entertainment while you're watching the video, take a look on the left side of Jacob's video so you can see his hand movements in his mirror.
Yes. Yeah. You can see it. Like, ooh, there's my Ugg boot.
All right.
Comfy boy. Okay. So until next time, guys, stay safe.
Bye-bye.